Raven here, so let's see with which weapons we'll be invading today. And Crescent Moon Sword. Okay, I think I've never played with that one before. And for the hyper armor weapon, I'll play with the Murakumo. Okay, it's fine. Especially with the Murakumo. Okay, I'll see you guys at the invasions. So hey guys, so after the remastered experience, I've decided to try out Dark Souls 3 again. And I've been having pretty consistent invasions in this game actually, so I decided to do another random weapon invasions, and this time I'll be doing post commentary because I was just shooting the shit. I wasn't really planning on doing an episode, but I've had great fun with these two weapons, the Murakumo and the Crescent Moon Sword. I kind of messed up this build because I went for a high intellect build, and for these two weapons it's better if you go for a skill build. Actually, I didn't know this. The Crescent Moon Sword scales better with dexterity instead of intelligence. So do your research before you do your builds, boys. Anyway, the poise on this build is 29.3 in order for me to poise to a two-handed greatsword, and I really liked the fashion on this one. So I almost didn't use the spells I had in this build. So the build is the Llewellyn, the Murakumo, the Crescent Moon Sword, and the Court Sorcerer's Staff. I have 2 attunement slots, and the 2 attunement slots are really important for the Crescent Moon Sword because it's its weapon art which makes this weapon viable. And as for the rest of the stats, 35 Vigor, 15 Attunement to get the 2 Attunement slots, and a deeper FP pool for the Crescent Moon Sword, 35 Endurance, all of this with the Prisoner's Chain, Vitality 20 again with the Prisoner's Chain, Strength at 20 and 18 Dex for wielding the Murakumo, and 35 Intelligence, and the Murakumo is Crystal Infused. Other than that, the ring setup it's the same as I almost always use. So Prisoner's Chain, Ring of Favor, Havels, and then one floating ring slot. Now, the Murakumo is the beast we all know and love. It's one of the best curved greatswords. It might be a bit weaker than the Herald, which has a little bit more range and a better weapon art than the Murakumo. And this class as a whole, there are no weak spots. Every weapon in this class is good. It has very good damage, has a lot of range. You can swing a lot of times. You can swing 5-6 times with this weapon. It's one of the best roll catching weapons, at least of the hyper armor weapons. It has really good hyper armor. It's kind of a hybrid between a greatsword and an ultra greatsword. So lots of hyper armor as well. And it also has one of the best running attacks in the game. It comes out fast, it does a lot of damage, and then you can a lot of times roll catch with the following R1. So it's a really strong weapon. Now the Crescent Moon Sword, it looks beautiful, and although its range and damage it's not very good, and it scales better with Dex than with Intellect. Its scaling on Intellect is reasonably low. The really good thing about it's the weapon art, and I've never tried this weapon before, and that weapon art is amazing. It's amazing because it has a lot of range, and you can do a lot of pressure if you use it wisely, because the range of the weapon itself is small, as you see. However, when paired with the weapon art, you can punish people at any range. It's one of the best finishers in the game, with Lothric's Holy Sword also being very good. But this one has more range. It might be a little bit slower than the Lothric's Holy Sword, but the projectile is fast and has a shit ton of range. So when your opponent just has a little bit of health, just shoot this thing and probably you'll get him. So I ended a lot of fights with this one, and I really enjoyed using the Crescent Moon Sword. This was one of the spells that I used. I also used the Great Heavy Soul Arrows. Well, sparsely. I almost didn't use the spells. The attunement slots are there more for the Crescent Moon Sword to draw FPs for the weapon art than for the spells itself. So let's go watch some invasions with this setup. So this first invasion is just to show you guys the amount of pressure that this weapon can do. So this dude's swinging an ultra, and fights with this weapon can go very fast. 2 R1s into the weapon art, it will roll catch in a lot of times, and it will also prevent heals, because if you time it well, the dude is going to drink his Estus and he gets interrupted, and then you can pressure him. So this fight right here against the dude with Vort's Great Hammer, this is from the Bonfire Duel series, and I'm trying to choose which wing I'm gonna use. I want to go for the Cloranti because I'll have more pressure, but then because he's using Vort's, I'm going for the backstabs, so I'll use the Hornet Ring. Also using Blue Moss because there's a good chance that he'll hit me once, and I don't want to get frostbitten. And this exchange right here shows me that this fight's not gonna be easy because this guy is lagging, and the setup that this guy is using works very well when being laggy, and this guy's doing it on purpose. He must think that he plays the game well because he must win a lot of fights with this setup. So just a simple backstab here, punishing his running attack. But anyway, the kind of setup that he's using, a lot of armor, and here the dude was going to chug, and then I managed to interrupt him with the Crescent Moon Sword weapon art. But anyway, the kind of setup that he's using, and I faced this sometimes here, especially in the Ringed City, is that they stack a lot of poise, they stack a Great Hammer, and you cannot see the animation before it hits you. You try to swing, and then the guy, you always swing on his hyper armor frames. So lag is used by him as a shield to prevent getting hit before his hyper armor frames start. So these builds end up being quite powerful in this scenario. So another punishment on the swings. And I'm trying to keep him Undead Hunter Charm. This was not a good throw. Again, I'm trying to punish him with the Crescent Moon Sword. It works really well in this kind of scenarios. And again, I don't know if I should have traded with him or not, because the Crescent Moon Sword doesn't do a lot of damage, and that translates to not a lot of damage on the criticals. So probably I shouldn't have traded there. And this is what it does very well. And this was also out of range. That was a Phantom Rage because of the latency. Which is when you... another backstab. This weapon, the Crescent Moon Sword, works really well when you are just outside of his range. And this was bullshit as well. He was in my screen, he was affected by the Hunter Charm, but he still was able to chug. And the thing is, I only have 5 Undead Hunter Charms. And now I'm out of FP, so I have to time my FP chugging well. Now this dude goes for the Perseverance, and now he gets a little bit nervous, he decides to jump, and then he gets backstab again. Now I'm throwing the Undead Hunter charm a little bit earlier because of the latency. That was a fraction of a second earlier than what I would normally do. Then I would normally throw the Undead Hunter charm to account for the latency. Now I have the Murakumo out, and the Murakumo also works very well one-handed because of its bad strength scaling. And now I'm able to finish the dude with the Crescent Moon Sword. And this dude had to die now because I had no more Undead Hunter charms. And he had a shit ton of HP, a shit ton of Estus, and this would have been a very long fight if I didn't kill him when I did. So this next invasion right here, this guy was top 10 anime character, 2018. But anyway, and this dude was always swapping his weapons. He had a Ring Knight straight sword, now he has giggles, and then he's gonna change to an ultra. And now a third guy shows up, and I'm just doing a little bit of damage, waiting for the blue dude to get over here. And I want to take this fight to the next part of the level, and I want to draw just one of them with me. This is a very good scenario because now the other dudes are up there and they don't want to engage. But if this dude plays against me alone, he's as good as dead, because probably the wolves are going to aggro on him, and I think I can kill him from neutral even if there weren't any mob support. So now these guys are forced to chip in, and that's good as well. I'm trying to drag them to the level in order to get more wolves to join in the fight. And now I go for the restart parry on the blue, who was playing too aggressively and didn't have a huge amount of HP. So everything is going well, but I'm a bit rusty at this game, and I'm not managing my stamina properly. My stamina is too low, and that's not a good play. I should have been a little less aggressive. Now I roll into a wolf, and that messes up my roll, and then he's able to catch me, so that was not good. This was a panic heal, so again I get punished. And the dude with an ultra, the white, he's being very aggressive, so I decide to do a turn and burn with 4 straight R1s. I will have the stamina for this because of the Murakumo low stamina consumption relatively to its damage. Now this dude goes for the Firestorm, and this is not Dark Souls 1. Here the Firestorm it's a bit weaker, I think. And roll back, and then the weapon art. It works really well and punishes lack of R1 discipline a lot. This invasion right here was an interesting one. I think this was the only great heavy soul arrow that I've shot in all the in all the invasions, and it's not doing a lot of damage because I don't have the ring set up for this. But anyway, so these dudes, they really knew how to play. I went for the Hornet, and these guys are theoretically in a bad situation because a lot of the wolves are getting aggroed. But they are disposing very well of the wolves, and this guy is playing passive, which is as you should play with the Great Hammer. That's the Great Club, which is arguably one of the best, if not the best, Great Hammer in the game. So I'm looking up there to see if the big wolf will aggro. That's why I'm trying to position the fight to this side. And this dude with the washing pole, he's playing very well as well, and I'm getting very few hits in, especially amidst all this confusion. I'm going for the parry, I miss. Guy has a katana, he's going to use running attacks, but this guy adapted. Now he's switched for the Karta's Curved Greatsword, which was a good switch as well, and that threw me off balance, and then he went for the jumping attack. But now the big wolf gets in the fight, and I'm trying to get some alone time with any of these dudes. And the Crescent Moon Sword works very well against Great Hammers, as you've seen. but this guy is playing passive, and now I'm trying to defend the wolf from these guys. So I'm wailing on this dude right here in order for the wolf not to get killed too fast, because if he does, I'm fucked. So I'm just working this guy a little bit, punishing his heals, and this is what the Crescent Moon Sword does very well. You see, that's a really good combo. You throw the weapon art, and then you press R1 because you're gonna roll catch them when they roll into you. And this guy only has a sliver of health, and I'm able to finish him with the Crescent Moon weapon art. Beautiful stuff. And again, this guy did nothing wrong. It's just that this weapon I'm using worked really well against his setup. But now I have to take down the host, and again, this dude, sorry, the PS4 skipped a few frames there. And also this weapon art, he was using it very well, because it's very easy to punish from neutral, but if he's using it well, that shockwave is really hard to outspace. This was a very good timed heal. He couldn't punish me, but now I'm out of Estus. And probably this dude still has a shit ton of Estus. So things are not looking that well. And now I knew that he was going to go for the jumping attack again. That's why I used the Murakumo's R1. This is something that some people might not know. Most katanas, actually all katanas, cannot be parried on the second hit except for the washing pole. But I didn't trust the parry, and there was some lag involved, and I got a partial, and I didn't believe in it, so I rolled out. Else this fight would have ended. And now I usually don't use the divine blessings, but in this case, because I'm a little bit rusty, I gave myself the benefit of the doubt, and I was liking this dude, and I didn't want to lose, and all that shit. So I went for the divine blessing against this dude. I didn't go for any seek brows. That's too much for me, but I did go for the divine blessing. And this dude is playing well. He's clearly a Souls veteran, and I'm enjoying our fight, and the fashion is cool as well. So I'm just trying to pressure him, but I'm being too predictable. And now I go for the R1, and he gets the out of roll parry, which was a beautiful parry with the claws, with the mannequin claws, and he played really well. And now this was my last effort. And I slightly mistimed the parry there, and now he goes for the jumping attack, and well, it seems like it got a lot of tracking. So he got me, and GG, dude. I think this dude played very well. But then I was able to invade them again, and now he has this. This must be a friend of his. This dude was also a double gold medalist. This dude also seemed to play well, and they were using dried fingers, so they were cocky as well. And there was an invader already present in the world, and this was a beautiful parry. So let's see it again. This dude was becoming really predictable with his R1s. But I don't really need to see him if he goes in a regular cadence in order to parry him. So even without seeing, yeah, I knew what was the timing to hit the parry. And now I thought that I had him, and this guy throws a cheeky behind the back parry with the cestus, which is not a good idea, and he gets killed. And now the situation is the opposite from the other invasion. And now this is a 2v1, and he goes for the Cartus Curved Greatsword, which is better in a 2v1 scenario than the washing pole. And then my friend invader, Priscilla, is taking a lot of damage here. You need to be very mindful of the hyper armor on the Cartus Curved Sword, on the Curved Greatsword. And that's what this weapon does really well. You sit a little bit outside of the range of the other guy's weapons, and then you do the weapon art, and you'll get him like 8 times out of 10. So now we're all doing a lot of pressure with curved swords, and then there's also a wolf in the mix. And the wolves can sometimes be really pesky opponents, and I don't know why those wolves are not aggroing. I have no idea. But the idea is to keep a lot of pressure on this dude, and Priscilla there she's not playing badly, but she doesn't have a lot of armor, and she's being a little bit too aggressive maybe. And so I'm trying to punish this dude with this weapon. I wanna, yeah, no, I avoid his running attack and try to go for the backstab, but there's a little bit of latency between us. And here we get a cool combo going. And again, I hit Quelana with the weapon art, and again I hit it with the weapon art. And now I know that she's going to roll out, and that's why I buffer the R1 and get a kill. But anyway, Quelana fought very well, and the setup Priscilla here is using is also a creative set, so probably she's also a very experienced invader. That's all for today, guys. I had a lot of fun doing these invasions, and I'll probably do more episodes on Dark Souls 3. Thanks a lot for watching, and I'll see you next time. Raven out.